In the modern world, the authority of knowledge, in the sense of expertise on a subject, is a much more difficult thing than in the past. There was a time when, assuming an expert was a legitimate expert and not a fraud, their knowledge came from particular sources that were known and finite. The amount of information was such that on a particular subject they could be counted on to know everything of relevance. And the turnover of information was slow enough that they could be counted on to be up to date. And therefore, when posed a question on that topic, or if they were to come out with a statement, it could be practically assumed to be valid. That's harder now because not only is the amount of information on any particular subject so much greater, not only is it distributed in so many different ways, but new information also comes out so quickly that it becomes very difficult to remain an authority on a topic. Likewise, the availability of information makes it so that anyone can, in theory, access the information they need to come to a conclusion of their own. And so when an expert comes out with a statement or answers a question, it becomes much more difficult to verify it and to believe it. But that doesn't mean that expertise is illegitimate. We can't disregard the fact that someone who has spent the majority of their adult life gathering and consolidating information on a very particular topic, thinking about it, processing that information, coming up with new ideas about it, understanding it, is going to have the ability to think about notions in that subject and answer questions about it in a way that is far more likely to be correct than someone who has only dabbled in this area, only done independent research. But that doesn't mean that every statement that is issued by such a person is correct. And we can't disregard the fact that new information is available all the time. And in a sense, because of this, we have knowledge authority that is more distributed than in the past. For instance, to take an example that comes up a lot in the real world, where we are looking for an answer of something related to health or medicine. And so someone who is a well-known medical figure comes out with a statement, and we trust them because they're well-known, they've had many successes in medicine, and even if this is not their expertise, we trust them. And then another medical professional comes out who is perhaps less well-known, less of a genius, but has a lot of knowledge on this particular subject, is an expert in this area, and they come out with a statement that somewhat contradicts the original statement. You have a reason to trust them too. And on another front comes someone who has no medical background, but who has gone through this particular issue before. And they say, I have a legitimacy here. These two doctors who issued their statements may have training, but I have lived through this. I can answer more correctly than they can. And so if you then are faced with these three different opinions, who is the authority? Who do you trust? Or do you go and do your own research and come to your own conclusions? There has to be a balance. We can't rely upon the statements of an authority alone. We know that anyone can be wrong, and it's much easier to be missing a critical piece of information now. And so we have to be able to separate the personality cult of someone who is known, who is a figure of wisdom in their field, from a statement that they make. And understand that if we respect the person, that doesn't necessarily mean that every statement they make is correct. On the other hand, we can't disregard authority entirely. In our technological world, the idea of individuals who focus on certain areas of knowledge and being able to connect and share that knowledge is essential. If you do away with the idea of expertise, your view of the world will become fundamentally flawed, as you alone are the arbiter of your truth, and your viewpoint can never be complete. So there's a balance that has to take place, where you do listen to the authorities. You do take different viewpoints into consideration. You lend some weight to what a person has to say because of some factor that makes them more or less likely to be correct, but you also do your independent research, and in the end, you consolidate all this information. And because of the nature of the different sources, you're going to be left with some uncertainty, and you have to recognize that uncertainty. But at the same time, in practical reality, you need to be able to make a decision, take a certain action. And there's a very difficult but very important skill in being able to be uncertain and still take action, and also still be receptive to new information on the topic. To be able to take action, change your path if need be, but change in moderation without going to any extreme, such that you can still adjust when need be, is extremely important. It helps make correct decisions. It provides a very real benefit to your life. And this will only be more true as time goes on and the amount of information available to us to make these decisions explodes.